So there are several services you as an Amazon seller can choose from. But why and when should you sign up for any of them or sign up for them at all? That's exactly what we're going to talk about in this video. So please keep watching and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. So in recent years, the number of software packages and services have exploded, and Amazon sellers seem to have an enormous pool of things to choose from. Fact of the matter is that all these options, they are mere variations of the same thing. In reality, you only have like 5 choices, and those 5 choices are product finders for private label, lead services for arbitrage, courses, prep services, again mostly for arbitrage, and ungating services. Now let's discuss them one by one. So with product finders, I mean packages like Viral Launch, Helium 10, and Jungle Scout. Now these packages basically make it easier for you to research products in their respective market niches. And to my knowledge, they all do that job pretty well. Some may be better at certain things, but as a baseline, they basically do the same thing. Now my only criticism with regards to these packages it's not so much about the functionality or what they offer, but it's more about how people use them. Because from my experience and how I see people online and in our Facebook group, for instance, I see people using this type of software as the end-all solution to do your research. And the problem is that this software, it doesn't replace market knowledge or product knowledge, right? In my opinion, this software should only be used to verify certain assumptions you have made about the market or the market niche or the product or whatever you want to call it. And yes, that means that I believe that you should already know the ins and outs of a particular product or market niche. Again, only use it to verify data points. Now, what do I mean by that? So how should I explain this? Okay, so if you're a football fan, right, you understand the teams, you know how different plays, you have a certain inside knowledge about the market, the products, for instance, that maybe synthetic leather is more durable than real leather. I don't know, just naming something, or that a certain type of lacing affects the shot, or whatever it is, right? The problem is that this kind of software, it doesn't bring you that knowledge. It just offers you data points. It tells you about the sales per month, search volume, number of reviews, just basic sales figures, right? The problem is that if you don't have the knowledge about that product or market niche, and again, I'm just taking the example of that football thing. If you don't understand football, if you never watch the match, if you don't know who the players are, you never kick the ball, you don't have any inside knowledge about that market, then how can you place all these data points in the right context, right? And moreover, and that is more pertaining to private label itself, I do think that in order to be able to stick with it, right, stick with private label, you need to have a certain passion for the product and market niche. right? Because it's going to take long hours, weeks, months, years before you possibly before it becomes a success. So again, nothing against the software, but please take care as to how you use it. So straight out of the gate, even though we do offer a leads list, I can tell you that I do not recommend any lead service for people who are just getting started on Amazon or are on a tight budget. And with lead service, I do mean both buy lists as well as sourcing software. Now, the reason I don't recommend this has nothing to do with the quality or lack thereof these services provide, but everything to do with the numbers. You see, most services out there charge about $100 a month. Some may charge you slightly more, some slightly less, but this is like the median, the average. Now, that means that straight out the gate, right from day one, you start with a negative cash flow of minus $100 a month. Now, as you may be new to this, when you buy something from a retailer and send it to ship to Amazon, that's not an instant process. That's not sending it in, like buying it on Monday, sending it in on Tuesday, selling it on Wednesday. It's buying it on Monday, getting it a week later, right? And then maybe when you sell it to the Amazon warehouse, it takes you up to 2 to 4 weeks, sometimes even 6 before it becomes available to the public, right, for sale. So, all in all things considered, it might take you like a month, right? That's already $100 in the minus. But that's not accounting for when your first sale might hit, right? So the second your products are available on Amazon doesn't mean that they will be sold on that day. It might even take a day, a week, a month, right? So that may be another month that you are, that you're spending on these lead services. Now, that means that basically when you start for real, so when stuff is available and you are ready to go, it basically means that you are already $200 to $300 in the minus. Now, in order to break even, so not even make a profit, but break even, like the minimum amount of revenue you need to generate is $500, and only if you manage to hit a 20% margin. Now, again, what you may not know is that you don't sell your entire stock in 1 month. On average, you sell about a third, which again means that your total stock value as to revenue needs to be $1,500. On top of that, hitting that 20% steady margin is not as easy as my fellow YouTubers have you believe. 10% for someone new to this is already pretty good. But more likely, your first batch, it's more likely that you will lose money on it. You make a lot of mistakes, and if you never sign up for a course and just winging it, I pretty much guarantee that you will lose money on your first batch. Now, the bigger point basically I'm trying to make is that when you sign up for something like this, you generating profit and making money, like from a cash flow perspective, is no longer just a nice to have, right? You need to hit that minimum margin then, and you need to have a minimum purchase amount that you start with. right? And the problem is that that's something I advise to all of our students, um, is that when you start selling on Amazon, and mostly pertaining to arbitrage, um, I basically tell people to ease into it. Start with low amounts. Just get a feel of it. Now, that advice does not correspond with what you need to do once you sign up for a lead service. Now, some may have you believe, or actually do believe, um, that the lead service is like a cost of doing business. Well, I'm of the belief that um, your cost should be covered by your profits. That's business. That's good business. The moment you start with a negative cash flow, you already place like a real pressure on yourself to perform. And that's not, conducive for the learning experience. And again, in the beginning, I advise people to start with low amounts. So when should you do what and why? Now, by my estimate, anyone below a monthly revenue of $2,500 should not engage in any lead services, right? None of them, no matter how good they are. If you have anywhere between, say, $2,500 and $15K, so $15,000 in revenue, monthly revenue, by the way, I think that's like the zone where I would advise, okay, sign up for a lead service because your profits definitely cover the expense, and you may actually need like an additional source of products to maintain the growth, right? Now, any revenue beyond, say, 15, 20K a month, I would advise people to start looking for VAs or virtual assistants. Now, if you're hellbent, if you're getting started and you're hellbent on signing up for like a lead service, then I recommend, and that's not because we're better or anything else, it's purely a numbers-based advice, then I recommend starting with our yearly plan. It may sound counterintuitive, but basically with our yearly plan, you pay for, let's say, $500, right? It's a marketing gimmick to call it $497, yeah. But it basically means that like the daily costs versus the daily profits, they kind of stack up more in your favor, right? Because it's like more than a 50%, it's almost 60% discount on the service itself. Plus you get support, right? So you can email me with your questions, stuff like that. So again, this is not for me to make a lot of money. I will make more money if I just stick with $99 a month thing. But this is purely something for people that basically they don't want to do a course because courses are scams, obviously. But I do want to get started, and this is the service I would recommend if you're hellbent on signing up for a lead service. Now, in my opinion, the best way to get started selling on Amazon is by signing up for a course. I know, all courses are scams because they don't make you rich. Now here's a news flash, and it might be news to you, but courses can only offer you knowledge about a certain topic or subject in a condensed format. That's it. Anyone telling you that their course will bring you success you never dreamed of, wealth beyond your wildest dreams, great sales numbers, glorifying testimonials, all that kind of stuff, they're essentially lying to you. They're selling to you the idea of success. Instead, you should focus on the people that tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Now, as to where to start when you begin selling on Amazon, I always recommend people to start with arbitrage. Now, that's not because I think that the model itself is superior, but it's because I think that with arbitrage, you can start with little money and little knowledge. Private label, however, if you just talk about launching a product, you need at least $10,000 to launch, right? On top of that, you need to have serious digital marketing skills to push the product into the market. Next to that, you need to have a solid understanding of the Amazon marketplace and all its inner workings. And you need to have some serious business skills. Now, I'm not going to name names, but most private label courses out there barely cover the creation of a listing. As a matter of fact, most of them are courses designed around product finder pieces of software, right? And again, if it was like something innocent, right, I wouldn't mind. Everyone has a right to make a buck here and there. But the problem is that most of these private label courses tell you that you can start with little to no money, little to no knowledge. And when you sign up for the course, it becomes painfully clear that that's not the case, but only after you signed up, right? So that's what I think is wrong with most of the private label courses. And the fact that I wouldn't even mind that they, say, okay, it's easy, you can start with little to nothing and blah, 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 blah. I wouldn't mind as much as long as they would teach you even the basics of digital marketing, how to conduct business, basically the stuff you need to know to have at least a fighting chance. Most of them don't offer that. Now, on top of that, I do believe that any course needs, it doesn't matter if it's arbitrage or private label or drop shipping, but I believe that any course needs a form of a support structure, coaching structure, right? Because having a course that lays down the basic knowledge is all fine and well, but if you start from scratch, even if you go through all the content of even the best course out there, you will always have questions and you will always run into things that you don't know how to deal with. Now, if you look at most courses, their support structure consists of a Facebook group. Now, we offer such a group for free because I don't believe that if you spend $1,000 on a course, or more or less, but somewhere around $1,000 for a course, I honestly believe that you need to provide a service. Right? It's $1,000, right? It may not be much to many, but if you have any concept of money, you would understand that $1,000 is a heck of a lot of money, and I think that for that money you should provide people with actual support and coaching, at least for a year. So as to, I made a joke about it earlier, but as to courses being scams, I am a bit on the fence. Because I do believe, on one hand, I do believe that most of these gurus are at least, very immoral, right? I've tried to be that, but I can't do it. It just doesn't feel right. And when it doesn't feel right, there's something wrong with it, right? When you hype things up, tell people that you're going to be super successful if you just sign up for this or that course. Um, some call it sales, but in my opinion, selling something is about providing people with the service they need, not providing with the service you want to sell to them. I know it seems like a small difference, but in my book, it's a really big one. So on one hand, yes, you have despicable behavior of people selling courses and all that Amazon BS. But on the other hand, I do believe that people have a personal responsibility, right? If somebody contacts you and says, okay, for $1,000, I will teach you to be successful, you will be a millionaire by the end of the year. Now, if you would offer that to me, all the alarm bells will go off. I would not believe you, and I would dismiss it instantly. But strangely, for some reason, with e-commerce, affiliate marketing, and Bitcoin, this group of markets, if you want to call it that, I don't know, people just fall for it. And again, in my opinion, you have a personal responsibility. So at the end of the day, it's you that made that choice. It's you that keep these practices alive because you keep buying into them. So, when it comes down to it, yes, I believe that ultimately you have only yourself to blame when you sign up for some get-rich-millionaire super dragon ultra millionaire profit machine, whatever program, right? That's on you. I'm sorry, but that's just a fact. And if you really want to find success, and I've said it before, but you need to start looking for people telling you things you don't want to hear necessarily, but they tell you things that you need to hear. So prep centers or prep services are basically like an intermediate fulfillment center. And what they do is they basically, if depending on what type of service you're talking about, but basically it means that they take care of shipping your product to the Amazon warehouse. Now, traditionally, these type of services have only been used by people who do not live in the target market. So if you want to sell in the United States, but you don't live there, you have to use a prep center. However, I'm of the belief that where possible, you should focus your efforts on money-making endeavors and creating shipment plans, packing boxes, and making sure the carrier picks everything up and all that. The logistics basically is one, time consuming, and again, you have prep centers. And if these prep centers would cost a lot of money, I would say, okay, maybe don't do it. But on average, they charge about $1 per unit. So packing up a unit and shipping it. Sometimes like a small fee for oversize or specific products. But the point is that I think I'm worth more per hour than $1. And I don't know how many packages you can actually pack in an hour, but I would rather spend my hour on something else. So even if you do live in the States, I would highly recommend that you at least look at it, right? Compare prices and see if it's for you, but at least look at a prep center. Now, if you do retail arbitrage, it makes less sense, right? You just have to deal with the packing and hope you grow enough so you have your own warehouse and have somebody else do the packing, right? But when it comes to online arbitrage, I would basically just recommend using them. That's really the short end of it. So when you get started selling on Amazon, and this is something you may not know, but when you get started, you are most likely, you most definitely are being blocked from selling into certain categories, as well as being blocked for certain brands, right? Think Disney or Nike, or the topical category, stuff like that. This is what's known as being gated. Now, at some point, a new service arose. This service, or these services, more correctly, they basically help sellers to get ungated for any given brand or category. And of course, ungated meaning the opposite of gated, which means that you can sell these brands or in these categories. Now, these services, and that depends on the brand and category, they cost anywhere between $300 and $1,500. These are just average global numbers. Because you're often required to make a certain volume of purchases of that particular brand from a certain wholesaler, a specific product, whatever it is, it depends basically. But the range is roughly $300 to $1,500. And the most high-end brands often gear more towards the $1,500 mark. Now, as a principle, I don't see anything wrong with these type of services. But keeping in mind the numbers, it's something I would only recommend doing if you know that you are going to recover the cost and make some good money with a particular brand or with a product within a certain product category. And I would pick a period of a year, roughly. If you can make that money back in a year, right, then I see no problem with it. Now, the reason why I pick a year is because Amazon can gate and ungate you almost willy-nilly. It's like I've sometimes been ungated for a brand I never even applied to, and then out of the blue sometimes I get a mail saying, okay, we don't allow you to sell this particular brand anymore. Again, there's also the reason why I tell people to diversify over multiple brands and categories, but that's another thing. The thing is, they can gate you again, right? So let's say you pay that $1,500, you are allowed to sell Disney. Now, maybe you've been selling it again for 3 months, and then all of a sudden you get like a little notification through your email and saying that you need to sell your Disney inventory before this and this date because you're being gated again. And so there's nothing wrong with the service itself, but it's not it's not as urgent as you think it is. Because what many people do not know is that you will get ungated for brands and categories automatically over time. That's because a lot of people, they don't really fully understand why they are being gated in the first place. They take it personal, they think it's punishment. But being gated is nothing more than a set of algorithms designed by Amazon to make sure their customer base doesn't have to deal with bad sellers, right? And with bad, I don't mean like take over the world evil. With bad, I mean people who are inexperienced, don't know how to deal with customers, and and this is something I see in my students in the beginning. When they start selling, it's all about making money, all about them. Once they start to understand what it's really about, they understand how to deal with customers on the Amazon platform. They understand that losing that one sale, losing that $50 or even $100, yes, it hurts, but it doesn't hurt in the long term. If you treat these customers well and say, okay, listen, can we fix it? Can we solve it? Um, and that mentality shift from being everything about you to being about your customer. In general, again, if you're smarter, don't feel as if I'm talking to you, but in general, it takes about a year for people to fully realize what it's really about, basically. And Amazon understand this. Yes, they're a big corporation, big megalomaniac corporation even, but they do know their business and they do understand that their customers are more important than their third-party sellers. But again, if you consistently send in your inventory, treat customers well, you will be ungated automatically. So, as to the ungating, I think you have to make up your own mind, but I truly believe that you should only ungate if it's part of a larger strategy. So, I don't know, if let's say you have your own website and you want to list Disney toys through an Amazon plugin on your website. You want to sell a lot of it. Now, in that case, I might start with an ungating service just to build credibility and build up volume, like capital, so you can buy more volume and you actually become a big Disney selling website. Then you can eventually go to Disney themselves and say, listen, look at our website, we generate, let's say, we generate 2 million a year. Would you allow us to do wholesale of your products, or can we buy directly from you or through a wholesaler as a licensed reseller? Right? If it's part of that, I understand the trajectory and I understand the need to get ungated. However, if you do arbitrage for what I believe it's good for, and that means like rapidly building up capital so you can do something else with that money. It means that with arbitrage, the strength of arbitrage is in spreading out your purchases over multiple products, multiple product categories, as well as brands. So it doesn't even make sense to buy a lot of Disney then, because you make yourself vulnerable, right? Again, Amazon can gate you again. So if you have no strategy towards Disney or Nike or Adidas or whatever brand you want to get ungated for, I personally, again, it's just my view, I wouldn't do it. It costs you $1,500, roughly, $6,000-7,000 in revenue, roughly, maybe even 8. You need that revenue to earn that back. Now, do you intend to do at least that minimum amount of revenue? Then maybe yes, right? Maybe it makes sense to do Disney or get ungated. So again, it really depends on what your goals are. Again, if your goal is to become like a niche website or a niche reseller for a certain category or brand, then it's part of a strategy and then it would make sense. If you're just more generic and just do it for building the capital, I would apply patience, basically. So that's it. It really depends on that. So that's about it for today. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments down below. Or maybe even better, sign up for our Facebook group and get community support for free. Now, if you look for something more, then I suggest you have a look at our website. Links to both of them are in the description down below. For now, I do hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.